We're back with football, and today we're going to be discussing Manchester City's worrying trend of throwing away leads after taking the initiative. And we made to do that is Mustafa Jinado. Kule Williams is here. My name is Afolabi. It's another football show.
Yeah. Manchester is a weird team because they don't give up a lot of goals, but they give up enough goals to either draw or lose after fast starts. Now, Guardiola said that Haaland is tired. The reason I think he's tired is that Haaland and Turkey now have become the gravity of the team. And what I mean by the gravity is Haaland is actually the focal point of the team, which determines how everybody else plays. It used to be, Rodri, till he got injured. Rodri would sit back in a very deep position, or a very actually shallow position, closer to the central defenders. But he was able to track balls and push them back through the midfield, and no team could run through them. But now that he's injured, what you have now is with Haaland has to now change his style. He doesn't make runs. When Rodri was playing well and when he had De Bruyne, Haaland could make runs, and then you get vertical passes to him. But now he has to play dirty football. He has to go into the box, bully people, as Warif would say, bully, pin defenders, shadow defenders. He has to do a lot of work inside of the box, and he's doing very well. With him and Turkey, with Turkey coming towards him, they're getting a lot of shooting opportunities and scoring and building up quick leads. But they know that it's only temporary because there's a deficit in their midfield because Rodri's not there. And not only that, they don't have Stones, they don't have Guardiola, and they don't have Diaz in defense. All of those guys are the spine of the team. So you don't have a spine. Rodri's not doing well. And at the beginning of the game, to make up for that weakness, the wingers and the attacking midfielders and Haaland have to play super hard, and they can do it with that type of football that Guardiola likes, high intensity. But they know that by the time the second half comes, they're going to be tired, and that's why you see in the second half they shift, they stop pressing, and play low block because there's a deficit. This is just math. There's nothing that Guardiola can do. Even though he's a genius, when you have Diaz, when you have Guardiola, and you have Stones not playing, and you have Rodri half position, it means that you're basically playing with 10 players on the pitch. You're basically playing with them. And what happens is that Haaland is so good, and their attackers are so good at the beginning of the game, they press and they make up for that deficit, but inevitably they'll fall apart. There's not much that they can do. What are your thoughts, Kunle?
Yeah, I mean, that's why Man City had to get Guehi, the former captain of Crystal Palace. Excellent defender. And Semenyo, because they've got a shortage. They've got a really bad injury problem. And they've dug into their pockets on the Jenny transfer. They're trying to do something about it. But look at the game. They were comfortable. They got 2 goals, and they were comfortable. But this weekend, a lot of teams took 2-goal leads, and it didn't end up that way for them. It was a very strange weekend of football. It's been inconsistent. And in the second half, Tottenham just raised their game and came back with. It wasn't just the 2 goals. Tottenham actually put pressure and kept the pressure on Manchester City in that second half. They had far more chances. I'm not even sure City got any decent chances in the second half. They pressured City, and they got the 2 goals, and they could have actually got a third. They were lucky that they actually kept it down.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is that maybe I'm wrong, but in the second half, Guardiola changed the system. They started sitting back. If you sit back, of course the team is going to come at you. Am I wrong, Afolabi?
Yeah, and I think the reason is that he was scared somewhat that if they don't do that, they're going to lose their advantage, because if you look at their defensive shape, like you rightly mentioned, they have 3 experienced defenders out. Just Covadio, they have this Portuguese defender Diaz, as well as Stones. Now you're playing Kujanov, who is a rookie, with McGay, who was just signed from Crystal Palace a couple of days ago. He doesn't even have any kind of chemistry with Kujanov. So basically, they were scared that this kind of defense wouldn't hold out. were just better off sitting off the
Yeah.
field. But Manchester City is not their kind of game. They don't know how to be, atrocious and sit back and defend, and they were ultimately,
And absorb.
and exposed. And if you look at the way they play, what Tottenham basically did was to push their men forward and disturb and disrupt their build-up play so that Manchester City couldn't play out from the back comfortably, and they started to make mistakes, and that led to all the chaos that brought about the goals.
Yeah. So I see what you're saying, Kule, about they had more pressure and stuff, but that's partly because of the tactics that Guardiola used, where he stopped pressing, he changed up the positioning. They start sitting back and they weren't playing press. It would be just like if you're a team like Liverpool, you play the giga press, but in the second half you say, "Oh, let's not press, let's defend, let's protect our lead." It's just not going to work for Man City. What do you think, Kule?
Yeah, 2-0 is a very, very dangerous lead because at 2-0, if you score one goal and there's 10 minutes left, anything can happen. Before you start thinking about trying to defend your lead, normally you actually want to have about 3 goals. When you got about 3 goals, then you can start thinking about.
Yeah, they should have kept pushing.
That's how Ferguson. Yes, that's how Ferguson used to play. You don't stop until you crush them. At 3-0, they're just looking for a consolation. And I think Mourinho also did this as well. A lot of coaches, a lot of teams do this in the Premier League. Quite frustrating. They get a 2-0 lead, and they think that they can hold on, and then they take off midfielders and attackers and put on defenders. And what that does is that you're inviting trouble. Okay, you've got more defenders on the field, but because you've got no midfield, there's nothing to hold up the ball in the midfield. You've got no attack, so there's nothing to put pressure and use attacker the best form of defense. You're just inviting players onto you. And I think because they've gotten that, the problem, Rodri, it's so difficult to replace Rodri in that number 6 position. You need like one of the best players in the world or potential best players in the world to replace him in that Man City system for it to work. Before Rodri, they had great players like Yaya Toure and Fernandinho. Who could fill in.
But who's that other Spanish guy they have that sometimes plays in midfield? Who's that guy that they have?
Nico Gonzalez.
Yeah. But the problem is that not only that they don't have Rodri, because Nico Gonzalez is good enough, but you need to have those 3 defenders back to give him stability. Yeah, go ahead, Afolabi.
Yeah, I think
they don't. Okay. Without that base and that creativity, they cannot maintain the press efficiently because Man City play a high line and they like to press, and they also they like to get the ball to the striker. And as soon as they stop playing that game, they're vulnerable. And when you get at them, you can hurt them, and especially when they're missing their defenders. Well, he's a great defender, but like you said, he's barely packed his bags. He's probably had a leg lunch in the hotel. He hasn't seen his wife for, he's very unsettled. So it doesn't matter how good he is. But since they're looking towards the rest of the season.
The season is over, but once again, they had a golden opportunity to get 3 points and only be 3 or 4 points behind Arsenal. Now what are they, 2 points?
But so many teams have been inconsistent. Arsenal have only won their first game in 4. Everybody is dropping points.
So they just need to get their defenders rested, and then hopefully, even if it's not Rodri, the other guy, Gonzalez, once they get those defenders rested, I think they're good enough because the level of playing that this guy is doing this year, Haaland, he's doing a lot of work, but he's exhausted because he's now the central focal point of the team, and it's not just about getting runs and having a stable midfield that can feed him. He's having to fight a lot harder for goals, and he's having to be creative. But to me, it's good. It's good to go through trials and tribulations, as far as I'm concerned. What are your last thoughts, Afolabi?
I quite agree with you, but if I was Guardiola, with the way the game was set up, Rodri just came back from injury, and to be fair, he's not quite the same player he used to be. Leaving him alone in the central defensive midfield position, in a midfield surrounded by attacking players like Silva, O'Reilly, and Chekri, is a recipe for disaster. I would have taken off one of those attacking players, maybe Bernardo Silva, and
have a double pivot.
Yeah, and use a double pivot. Bring on Gonzalez to give Rodri some fewer space to defend. And
Yeah.
more structure and defensive cover. But he didn't do that. He felt Man City had the technical ability to continue to play around the opponent, but it didn't prove that way. Tottenham was brave, and with the movement of Solanke, the hold-up play, occupying the central defenders, it was difficult for them to do anything. And I dare say Haaland himself too. If Haaland is not scoring or running onto a through pass, he's basically useless and he's a liability. He's a world-class finisher, but he does nothing apart from finishing.
Yeah, but what about all these guys, Reinders, and Doku and stuff? They're supposed to employ these guys into the games more, so they can to take the balance off of If you bring those guys in, they can create for Haaland. But I guess I don't know.
But for me, the best creator for Haaland has been Kevin De Bruyne. Nobody has been able to replicate the quality of De Bruyne's passes from midfield into Haaland. Until they get that kind of player, it's going to be difficult to get the best out of.
And they also have a South American player. Who's that guy? Starts with R. What's the other guy's name?
Is it Oscar Bob or?
No, they have another player from Brazil or somewhere, but he doesn't play a lot. Maybe he's not playing.
I know the guy you're talking about. I can't quite remember his name now.
Yeah. So wait, who does Rafinha? No, Rafinha plays for Barcelona.
Yeah.
But there's another guy
he used to play for Leeds.
Yeah, I can't remember the other guy. Give me your thoughts while I ask AI. Savino or somebody?
Yes, Savino. That's the name, Savino. He's a winger.
Yeah, remember without AI,
But Savino is a winger. What they needed to do in this game.
Yeah, I mean, they've got loads of wingers. I mean, they've got Savino, but they're wingers. They don't have what it takes in the midfield. They're playing
all these Brazilian names: Rafinha, Savino, Zibodo, Bidodo, Olodo. All right. Okay, last thoughts, Kule, before we get out here. Good show. Yeah,
it was an exciting game yesterday as we saw Tottenham look like they were down and out and come back from the ashes like a phoenix risen from the flames to come and force a goal with City. And as we look forward to the next riveting round of Premier League football, from myself and Mustafa and Mafalabi, we bid you goodbye, farewell, adieu. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.
All right, turn off the recorder, Mafalabi. I want to ask you guys a question.